With that, Nick Wright joins us live, co-host First Things First. What did you make of I kind of agree with most of it. I still don't think Aaron Rodgers at 40 with that O-line. I hope he gets through the season. I would push back big on that. Other than that, I thought most of it I kind of agree with.
So you and I agree on a lot of this at the top. First of all, when your producers told me, they're like, hey, before you come on, Nick, Colin's going to go through all 32 teams' win totals. I was like, so I'm going to be on like 145. So great job by you in motoring through that. I would have lost a lot of money in you being able to do that in under 5 minutes. So that was impressive. I totally agree with you on the Jets piece of it. I think that the Jets last year were an old injured team and decided to fix that by adding the oldest tackle available, the second oldest tackle available, an injury-prone wide receiver. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been excellent at this point. Will win 3 years. So I agree with your Jets skepticism there. Where we are going to disagree, and I hate to do it for the second straight week, is your love affair with the Vikings is baffling. You're right, Colin. They have a great left tackle. They have a sharp coach. They might have the best receiver. In fact, they do have the best receiver in football. They are also in a brutal division with far and away the worst quarterback in that division, unless they're starting a rookie who they trade up for so they don't have to start Darnold. I think you're a little too low on the Bears. I just think everyone, and not necessarily you, but just America needs to remember, the Bears do not have the first pick of the draft. The Panthers do. The Bears get it from them. The Bears were not the worst team in football. They won 7 games. So I think Caleb coming in and being a 3-win improvement is totally reasonable. So I could see the Bears being a 10-win team. I also agree with you that I think they are a little too short on the Rams. Yeah. I think the Rams are there is a world that exists that the Rams have a better final possession against Detroit in round 1 of the playoffs, and the Rams play in the Super Bowl. Like, I truly believe that. I think that Rams team was better than we thought last year, and next year, even without Donald, should be good. But at the top of the divisions, I tend to agree with you.
So it's the J.J. McCarthy thing, I said at the top of my show, it's starting to feel like Zach Wilson, where, you're like, oh, what a throw at the pro day. And, oh, Harbaugh likes him. And it's like, timeout. He had 22 touchdown passes in 15 games with great protection, playing with leads, the best coach. It feels very Alabama quarterback, where I'm not doubting he's a pro, but it was not an NFL experience. Always the best coach, always a lead, always a run game, always protection. I'm like, guys, they haven't played any games since the season ended. How did he go from mid-first to potentially the second pick? Do you buy that?
No, I totally agree with you. So here's where it's different than Zach Wilson, at least from my perspective. The Zach Wilson stuff I didn't understand, but I mostly stayed out of because I don't watch as much college football as you do, Colin. And if I was being honest with the audience, I didn't watch a lot of BYU. So I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not going to grind all 500 snaps. I didn't watch a ton of BYU. The scouts love him. I guess I'll trust him. I watched this guy every weekend because he was on the best team. At no point was I watching Michigan and like, oh, man, and they've got a top 5 pick at quarterback? Here's what I know. The game that Harbaugh's replacement had to coach against Penn State, where he's like, I can't screw this up for Jim. I have to rely on what I know I can rely on. They let the kid throw the ball. They gave him the Jimmy G in the NFC Championship game treatment. They're like, throw the ball 8 times and don't screw it up, which to me was telling.
Yes.
And so I'm not saying he can't be a pro. There's never in my adult life watching college football been a quarterback that I watched more, that I was more confident on what their draft eval would be, which is a day 2 pick, compared to what it is now with no games taking place. I don't understand it. And I know some folks will be like, well, When Harbaugh had Andrew Luck, he ran the ball. Harbaugh let Luck throw the ball 30 times a game on that Stanford team.
Yeah.
J.J. threw the ball 21 times a game. And I don't understand it. But it sure seems like if he gets past the top three, that there is going to be a team, be it Minnesota or the Giants or the Broncos, that are dying to trade up to get him from Harbaugh at number 5 with that 5th pick the Chargers have. So I guess he's going to be a top 5 pick. I just don't understand it.
You know, I have to be careful lobbing up a wiffle ball for you to hit out of the stadium here. This is really in your wheelhouse. But Sean McDermott had a quote at the NFL meeting saying,
yeah, it is.
It's very narrow-minded to say we haven't been successful. Since 1967 in the merger, Josh Allen has the highest winning percentage without a Super Bowl appearance, and this was clearly the year that Kansas City was vulnerable. And I know Sean McDermott can coach. I've always used the Chuck Knox comp. I knew he could coach. But there's 2 levels to coaching. The guy that comes in, he's organized and cleans up a mess. That's a good football coach. A great coach can do that and then have vision and the ability to elevate people. And I'm not anti-Sean McDermott. I think he's category 1. Andy Reid is category 2. McVay is category 2. So when you hurt, again, I am just lobbing you up a ball to hit. This is batting practice. But your take on McDermott, Allen, and the idea that it's narrow-minded to not say they're successful.
Yeah. My take is Bills fans, coaches, personnel, media, everybody, sycophants need to pick a lane. If the lane is, listen, Josh Allen's a good player, and we're a good team. And there are 25 teams that would love to trade places with us the last 5 years. So be it. You're right. But when I, for years, have said that's who you are, you're a good team with a good to really good quarterback, I'm called a hater. I'm called a denier. I'm afraid. No. It's 1A, 1B, Allen and Mahomes. The Bills and Chiefs, they're the Titans of the league. Okay, well, by that standard, you failed. By that standard, in your era, your rival is 3-0 against you in the playoffs. Your sub-rival, the Bengals, is 1-0 against you in the playoffs. By the standard of the great teams, you have absolutely underachieved. So either you're not that good, you're actually, let me rephrase it. You're not that great, and you have just achieved what you're supposed to, but I've been yelled at for years when I've said that, so it must be you actually are great, which means this has been a massive failure of the last 5 years. It can't be both. It can't be this was a success and we're awesome. That does not exist. And if you're Buffalo, here is the hard part. Colin, I said this to you a year ago, and then it happened again. Each year, they get further away. 2020 in the AFC title game. Okay, that's great. 2021, the 13 seconds game on the road in round 2. That's a little bit of a step back. 2022, round 2 blown out at home. All right, that's a big step back. 2023, fire the offensive coordinator. You're 6-6. You need a mad dash just to make the playoffs, only to lose another home playoff game. 3 years in a row, Mahomes or Burrow have beaten you or 4 years in a row, Mahomes or Burrow have beaten you in the playoffs. 2 years in a row, it's happened in your building. So what are you? Are you trying to be, the Milwaukee Bucks or the Denver Nuggets? By that standard, you failed. Or are you the Philadelphia 76ers? Look at the MVP caliber star I have. Look at the wonderful regular season accomplishments, and look at everyone else going further in the postseason. I, for a while, have said you might be the Sixers, but I'm just a hater who happens to be right about the Bills every single time. So that's all I'll say.
Okay, so I want to go to one NBA question. So we saw this in men's tennis, where Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, Novak Djokovic were all in their prime at about the same time, and men's tennis, along with Serena, was really captivating. And then Federer starts regressing. Rafa Nadal has injuries. Novak Djokovic, they all start regressing at a kind of the same time. And I don't think men's tennis for the next several years will feel quite as dynamic. It goes through cycles. Sure. In the NBA, the Suns with KD are 8th. LeBron's Lakers are 9th. Steph's Warriors are 10. And they have half the MVPs and final appearances in the NBA in the last 15 years. And it feels like men's tennis. There's a passing of the guard. And right now, I'm not sure who's next.
Who's going to take it? You don't know who's going to take the torch. It's a passing of the torch with, you hope Anthony Edwards continues to ascend. It's hard. It's hard for a player his size to be the best player in the league. There's a reason that's a very, very short list of guys under 6'6" or 6'6" and under who have ever even really been in that discussion. It's a lot of international players that nobody questions their basketball ability to be the face of an American sport. If you're not American, that's something that the American consumer seems somewhat uncomfortable or unfamiliar with, at least. And this, though, Colin, is where I would put some of this on the NBA, because I think some of the marketing and some of what they have prioritized has been short-sighted. So I will use, as I often do, your and my kind of professional relationship as an analogy. 7 years ago, 8 years ago at this point, my goodness, when I first got hired by Fox, and you and the bosses decided that when you took time off, I should get to fill in for you, was I definitively the best person to do those shows? The answer is probably not. But the company was invested in me, and they were like, you know what? Even if this show might not be the best we could possibly do, it'll be good, and we will grow the person. More people will know him. He will get experience, all of these things. As opposed to what is the very best thing for this show this day. So here's why I mentioned that. The NBA keeps just squeezing every last bit of juice from LeBron, Steph, Durant, even though they know that era is ending or has ended. And it's because, well, Lakers games get the best number. Warriors games get the best number. Yes, but maybe when those guys are still here, if you shine a bigger spotlight on Anthony Edwards, on the Oklahoma City Thunder, on some of your next generation of guys, then the NBA won't be facing a real cliff when this old generation retires. Because we have taken for granted, Colin, because of how well LeBron has played at damn near 40, how rare this is. Steph is 36. Michael Jordan won his last playoff game at 35. Kobe Bryant won his last playoff game at 33. Steph and Durant are already, historically speaking, on borrowed time, and LeBron's been on borrowed time, historically speaking, for 5 years. For those to still be the three most marketable, popular players is concerning, in my opinion, for the NBA's long-term health. Yes, they need some of the young domestic stars to step up. They also need to prime the audience to know you need to care about the Thunder. You need to care about the Timberwolves. Those guys are stars, or else LeBron's going to walk away one day. KD and Steph are as well, and it's going to be a bunch of European stars in a league that's not quite as popular.
Yeah, it should be noted, David Stern was a brilliant marketer. When MJ left, he chose certain people to be stars. The audience didn't buy in, and they lost 50% of their ratings. So it does matter. Networks make bets on people. Leagues make bets on people. And I think your take is next week I'll ask you about the Chiefs. I wanted to give the Chiefs, since they dominate the sport, I do have them number 2 in my preseason ratings. I don't want to give you two.
You had them number 1 last week.
I've moved them down.
Who passed them?
They lost a corner who I liked a lot. They're back to 2.
They lost L'Jarius Sneed. Colin, you will never like Sneed more than you do right now. All season, I was trying to tell you they have the best pair of corners in football. Oh. You're like, they're good. Now that Sneed's gone, he's an all-pro Hall of Famer. I get it. I understand. We can do Chiefs next week, buddy. I'll see you then.
First things first, Nick Wright. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.